Vasudeva. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So continuing on, Canto number 3, we're at chapter 26. So, which is all about talking about time. The Lord's influence is felt through the 25th element. Oh yes, one second. So, this is all part of this 25th element. Yeah. So these are the elements. Let's just go through those elements. But before we go through the elements, I just wanted to check. So this is the pradhans, right? So the pradhan, which is the unmanifested, the characteristics of the pradhan. Pradhan is basically that part of material energy which has not yet been looked upon by the Lord. So it hasn't yet fructified into something manifest. It's unmanifest, it's eternal, it's the aggregate of the three modes, cause of Prakriti, consists of cause and effect, undifferentiated, yet has a variety. And then the products, that's what we're going to look at today, the products. 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, fire, air, ether. 5 sense objects, that's the eyes, etc., which we'll see in a minute. 10 senses, and then we have the subtle body and knowledge. Right, let's look at this. 5, this is the components of the field of activities, the 24 elements, and the 25th element is time. So, Mahabhuta, these are the 5 great elements. This is what the gross material world is made from, which is our body is made from. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So that's the gross body. It's dead matter. So our body is dead. What gives it life is the consciousness, the soul. So what are the 5 objects? Form, sound, smell, taste, touch. These are the things that we want to try to enjoy. Enjoy different forms, enjoy music, enjoy smelling, enjoy tasting and touching. Right. And what are the senses? The senses are what is what come in play to enjoy the sense, these objects. What are these senses? So there's 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Eyes, we look to see, try to gain knowledge. Ears, we hear. Smell by the nose, tongue, taste, skin touch. And then there's the working senses: hands, legs, voice, anus, genitals. So what have we got now? 5, 10, 15, 20. So far we've got 20 of the activities in the field. Then we have the mind, 21, intelligence, 22, and then false ego, ahankar, 23, and then we have this unmanifested, avyaktam. The unmanifested is basically this pradhan. And it's very hard to understand. It's very hard to understand this. So let's see if we can make some sense of it. Material nature in its subtle stage is called pradhan. It is the undifferentiated sum total of all material elements. Although they are undifferentiated, one can understand that the total material elements are contained therein. When the total material elements are manifested by the interaction of the 3 modes of material nature, the manifestation is called prakriti. It is the condition of material nature immediately previous to its manifestation. It is called pradhan. So when it becomes manifested, then it's the mahatattva and things like that. So these are the 24. field of activities. So let's go back. So then, text 15 to 18. The Lord's influence is felt through the 25th element, which is time. So we looked at 24, and time is what manifests everything, which is the mixing element. It agitates the unmanifested. Time also causes the fear of death. The Lord adjusts the creation externally as time. So time is the Lord, one and the same. He says in the Bible, the time I am, the destroyer of all three worlds, and internally as a supersoul within. So after the Lord impregnates material nature with his internal potency and the jivas, so remember, the Lord is sleeping. When he wakes up, or when he breathes out, all the universes come out, and in the universes, he puts his internal potencies and the jivas together with their karmas. The clear, serene mode of goodness, Vasudev consciousness, Vasudev is Krishna consciousness, manifests in the Mahatattva. Then the false ego in three modes appears. So, Satagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, whose origin is Sankarasan, Ananta, who has 1,000 heads. This Ananta is the Ananta Shesh who is singing the Lord's glories since the beginning of time with his 1,000 heads and still hasn't found the end of the glories. This false ego is characterized as a doer, as an instrument, and as an effect. It is further characterized as serene, active, or dull, according to how it is influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So again, this is quite challenging to completely comprehend, but he's explaining the creation process, and the creation process naturally cannot be easy. The mind, which creates desires, evolves from the false ego in goodness. The origin of the mind is Lord Aniruddha. And Aniruddha is one of the four forms. So we have Krishna, Balaram, and then we have this Chatur view, Chatur forms, the ruler of the senses. His form resembles an autumnal lotus flower. Passionate false ego creates intelligence, which manifests doubt, apprehension, memory, and sleep. Passionate egoism also produces the knowledge acquiring senses and senses of action. When egoism is in ignorance, is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Lord, the subtle element sound is manifested. And from sound comes the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing. Yeah, wow. This is tough. This is tough to understand. So just go through this quickly. So, oh, sorry, I've done it the wrong way around. Anyway, the fundamental principle of Maturity, this is the beginning of this 26th chapter. Knowledge of different categories of the absolute truth brings liberation. So why is this being spelled out? Because if we have knowledge of this, then it brings us closer to understanding that we are not from this world. And it will lead us towards liberation from this world. That's the whole idea. The Purushi's characteristics are described. So what is Purush? Purush is the Supreme Lord, without a beginning. He's a super soul. He's transcendental to material modes. He's beyond material nature. He's perceivable everywhere. He's self-effulgent. By him, the entire creation is maintained. So this is Purush. The interaction of Purush with Prakriti is just a pastime by his will. The covering of living entities by matter is arranged by material nature. But the feelings of happiness and distress are caused by the souls themselves. So who causes us happiness and distress? It's not the Lord. It's not the Lord connected with Prakriti. It's us. We ourselves cause our own karmas, and that those karmas, those actions, lead to reactions, which can then give us different, levels of happiness and unhappiness. Devahuti, so this is Kadamuni is explaining all this. Devahuti requests further details of the Supreme and his manifested and unmanifested energies. Kapil describes the Pradhan. So that's what we were looking at. And it enumerates in detail the 24 elements of material nature, including the modes, elements, senses, and the organs of action, which is everything that we went through here. So had that chapter a little bit upside down. Okay, so carrying on from the elements. The successive elements manifest with their senses. So each of the senses, there are elements that will, sound, for example, manifests with the sky and hearing, providing space for the jiva externally and internally. Air with touch, providing life to the senses. Fire with the eyes and the forms, providing ability to cook, digest, destroy, and evaporate. Taste with water and the tongue, manifests as sweet, bitter, sour, salty. Odor with earth and the nose. So, provides place of sustenance for all. So sound is ether, equal to ether. Touch, air, form, fire. Taste is equal to water. Smell is equal to earth. So these are the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And they're related to each of the senses, if you like. Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former exist in the latter. Example is the unique quality of water is taste. So without, if you drink water, you're going to taste the Lord in it. Raso aham apsu kaunteya. So the whole idea is you can't distinguish between the two. Just like fire as well, you can't distinguish between fire and heat. It contains all qualities up to taste, i.e., sound, touch, form, and taste. So each one contains the previous. So sound is the basic, then we get higher, which is the air, then the form, then the taste, and the smell. Finally, the smell, earth, would contain all of the previous 4 senses, basically. When these elements are unmixed means this pradhan, this blob, the Lord enters the universe along with time, work, and the qualities of the modes of material nature. This precipitates the appearance of the cosmic egg and the cosmic being, the universal form, Viratru, who divides the egg into many departments. So this unmanifested gets divided by the Lord, and he actually makes it, gives it effectively life. Effectively, he unmixes it so that we have all the different elements available. This is a long chapter, 61 verses, if not more. The Lord's universal form manifests in stages with his senses and bodily parts. The deities of these functions also appear along with qualities of the senses and the organs. Whoa. This is again pretty complicated. So these are the various limbs of the Virat Roop. So I'm not going to go through each one, but basically you have the gross senses, subtle senses, so mouth leads to speech. And who's in charge? The sense devata is Agni, fire, or Vani. Nostrils, olfactory senses, the wind god. Eyes, sun god. Ears, Dik devatas. Skin, etc., herbs. Genitals is water, anus. Death, Mrityu. Hands is Indra, legs is Vishnu. Veins are the rivers, the deities presiding over the veins. Abdomen is ocean, heart is Chandra. But then heart is divided into so many different subtle organs. Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu is in charge of intelligence, force, ego, and consciousness. Chitta. And the mind is Chandra. So that's why when the full moon is up, sometimes people go a little crazy because the moon controls the mind. Okay, wow. Attempting to awaken the Lord's cosmic form, the demigods and
Hello, Hare Krishna,
yes,
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Can you reverse the last page because I want to take picture?
Sure.
Just 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, Hare Krishna, carry on. Prabhuji, carry on.
Thank you much. Thank you. I can also send it to you, huh? I can send it to you. So don't worry. Okay. So, for example, the fire god enters his mouth along with the organ of speech. Even Brahma and Rudra attempt to awaken the Virat Rup. This is trying to wake him up. Yet he fails to awaken until the inner controller, deity of consciousness, Paramatma, enters his heart. So Paramatma entering the Virat Rup makes it awake. Only the super soul can awaken the sleeping souls, not prana, life air, mind, or intelligence. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, one must meditate upon the super soul within the body, although he is also apart from it. So the super soul is just with us. You know, we often think, oh, God is so far away, but actually God is with us all the time. He's just next to us. We've just got to turn our face towards him, and he will reveal himself. He will reveal himself. So this is quite an important point. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, advancement, spiritual knowledge, one must meditate upon the super soul within the body. That was a long chapter and a lot of information in that chapter about this material world. Okay. Understanding material nature, chapter 27. The soul, although situated in Prakriti, and in a material body. So sometimes the soul is regarded as Prakriti, and sometimes it's only the material world that's regarded as Prakriti. Here, we can see that the soul, although situated in Prakriti and in the material body, is unaffected by the modes of material nature because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. Just like the sun, it will evaporate water, it will also evaporate urine. It's equal to both, right? However, when this same soul becomes absorbed in the gunas of Prakriti, material nature, and bewildered by false ego, he falsely thinks he is a proprietor of everything. Thus he gets entrapped in continuous samsara, transmigrates into different species of life, even though he is transcendental to material existence, due to his mentality of lording it over material matter. So this is what we are trying to do. As souls, we've misidentified with this body, and we are trying to load over our senses, trying to become the boss, if you like, trying to control, mini controllers. Kapil Dev is explaining Bhakti Mishra Gyan, which aims at impersonal liberation. And the primary element is Gyan. Bhakti Mishra Gyan is a main element, primary element is Gyan, secondary element is Bhakti, and Astanga Yoga. So it's a mixture of three things, but it's not pure Bhakti. It is actually aiming at the formless aspect of God. The Lord maintains 18 qualities to be cultivated by the Jnani. So, what are these 18 qualities? There you go. Phew. This is, if we do bhakti, this will automatically come. If we're doing Gyan, we have to develop these. And it's not easy. But doing bhakti, these automatically come as long as the bhakti is in pure consciousness. So equal to all souls, very hard. No enmity, no intimate connections, celibacy, being grave, offering results of activities to the Lord, satisfaction with what comes of its own, regulated eating, thoughtfulness, living in a secluded place, peaceful, friendly, compassionate, determined, no bodily identification, transcends the gunas, aloof from other concepts of life. So these are 18 qualities that the person in Bhakti Mishra Gyan would try to cultivate on his own effort, by his own effort, which is very, very hard. But one who's doing bhakti doesn't have to endeavor for these separately. These come automatically. The Lord gives automatically, but the bhakti has to be pure. The presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized just as the sun is realized first as a reflection on water, and then on the wall of a room, although the sun itself is situated in the sky. Sometimes we see a reflection of the sun in water, right? So we can realize, oh, this is the sun. Although we know the sun is actually situated in the sky. The self-realized soul is thus reflected first in ego and then in the body, senses and mind. The soul is pure, alert, free from false ego. Yet he appears to be covered by the false ego and its products. So this is interesting to understand. The self-realized soul is reflected first in ego. So the self-realized soul, he has no false ego. His ego is actually spiritual ego. It's knowing that I am a servant of God. So the soul is pure. And we have to try to understand that. We are pure. But at the moment, because we are intimately connected with material nature, we, due to the influence of false ego, think we are this body. That's the difference. Devahuti asked the Lord, since Prakriti and Jiva are attracted to each other eternally, how is the separation possible? Good question, right? We've been together with material nature since, who knows? Who knows? So how can we get away from Prakriti? Although not the doer, he is attached to the modes and Prakriti acts on him and binds him. Thus, how is liberation possible? Very good question. Very good question. The Lord answers, the soul is liberated when he practices as follows. Intense bhakti for a long time, without desire for fruits of results, by executing prescribed duties, nourished by hearing about God, perfect knowledge, detachment, austerity, yoga, and self absorption. This is tough. This is all tough stuff. But luckily in Kali Yuga, we have a very simple process of chanting the Maha Mantra, and we will attain the highest liberation. This is one of the lucky things that we have access to thanks to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Renouncing his desire to control and enjoy matter, he becomes free from material energy, which can no longer harm him. The devotee thus blissfully enters the spiritual world. Wow. Okay. It's a lot, actually. It's a lot to take in.
Prabhu, can you send it to me as well? Because I need to go for it. It's, well, as you say, it's not easy to
Yeah,
take.
yeah. It's a lot, actually. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let me just see how big this chapter is. I think let's stop because this is also quite intense. Yeah. Yeah, let's stop because this is actually worth going through in some detail. Any questions? Any comments? I know it's been a little tough. Canto 3 is the hardest of all the cantos, all the 12 cantos. Canto 3 is tough. Canto 5 is tough as well. But Canto 3, because it talks about Sankhya Yoga, like here, or the creation process, is very hard to comprehend. Okay. Yes.
It seems the false ego was created first from in after the Lord glanced at the Pradhan.
Yeah.
Then false ego. So is it because we are trying to entrap us because false ego is so hard to give up because that's what we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Well, when the jiva comes out from the Lord's body and enters into the universe,
Yes.
it has to have some identity. The false ego gives it that identity.
Oh, yes.
And it gets its karma as well. Without the false ego, the soul doesn't have an identity. But its real identity, of course, is the real ego, which is I am a servant of God. But because we're in this material world, we need that false ego so that we can identify with something, Otherwise, the jiva is just, what's it going to do? It's got no identity of its own, unless it's got, because it's not in the spiritual world, it's in this material world, lost. So it needs that false. So false ego does come in quickly, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And when in the Pradhan, when jivas they enter into the Pradhan, do they? Jivas get
No,
the body of the Mahavishnu?
no, not in the Pradhan. Jiva is kept separate and is transferred separately by the Lord to Ramadevi and Lord Shiva, basically. Eventually, Lord Shiva.
Okay.
And the pradhan is kept separate because the pradhan is just is the unmanifested. It's not yet been divided into the five gross senses, the 10 knowledge acquiring senses. So it's the early stage of Mahatattva. The and then as soon as the Lord enters, he gives it that separation, that gives it the not life necessarily, but turns it into all the different senses, etc.
So when Ramadevi and
Um,
Shambhu,
some
or
yeah,
yeah,
yes, Lord
they
Shiva.
all enter into that's how the jivas enter into, through them, jivas enter, once
Yeah,
the unmanifested is gone and we have got into the more
yeah.
manifested form.
That's correct. That's correct. So from Vishnu, it enters. It goes to Ramadevi, who is the wife of Vishnu, and then she will pass it on to Lord Shiva, and between Lord Shiva and Durga Mata, they will then, place these souls in the material world with their karma, with their false ego. So that's never lost. That karma, even after Mahavishnu breathes in and we are living in him for a long time, the karma is still there waiting for us as soon as we get life. Again,
Yeah.
karma. Hey, there you go. What you had left, you got it again.
Very sad.
It's painful.
Yes. Yeah.
Can't
I
escape.
don't- Yeah, sorry, the Pradhan, I don't quite understand it.
I know. It's very hard. Pradhan is very hard to understand. It's the unmanifested. It's a big lump of material energy lying within the Lord, which comes out. And
Prabhuji,
hmm,
somebody
yes,
explained that
yes,
Pradhan is, when you're going to make a sabji, you need all the ingredients.
yeah.
And you make all the ingredients are there, but you have not made into a sabji yet. And all these ingredients, before it's made into sabji, is Pradhan. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Before even the ingredients are separated out.
Yeah.
Done is
That,
even before the ingredients are separate,
yeah.
because it's a total mass of material energy without any separation as yet, because the Lord has not yet facilitated that differentiation. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, it's tough.
Karmas never leave us. It's so sad.
But that's why, when we do bhakti,
Mm,
uh, this is what destroys and dissolves the karma, right? The
mm,
bhakti, the chanting of the holy name, especially the chanting of the holy names, the bathing in the holy rivers. These things destroy slowly the bad karmas, and then eventually, hopefully, we stop having any attachment to this material world, and we're doing bhakti. Then basically, we will have hopefully no karmas, and then on the path of liberation. And if our attachment becomes strong towards the Supreme Lord, then we have a very good chance of coming out of this material world.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you,
Until that
Prabhuji.
time, yeah.
Thank
Until that time, karma, we're stuck with our karma. But now is our opportunity, because we sort of hopefully trying to mature and understand. Oh, okay, I've got to do a lot more, for the Supreme Lord. Lot less attachment to this, my relatives, friends, and my possessions, and more attachment to the Supreme Lord. So that destroys the karma. That destroys the karma.
There's something called food for the soul. This is what we are doing. This
Mm,
chanting,
mm,
other activities that we are doing, like eating and sleeping and doing this and desires and attachments. That is our material things. We feed for the material body, not for the soul.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, that's right. Not for the soul.
Not for the soul. What we
For
need
the
to,
soul.
once we understand, then we have to find food for the soul as well.
Food
So
for
all these different medias.
Correct. Of course, so if we take prasad, that's food for the soul.
That's
But
food, yes. Yes.
ordinary food, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. You're right. Mm.
Mm. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Have
Uh,
you finished, Mataji?
yeah, yeah. Carry on, carry on.
Yeah, is it
Yeah.
whatever Mataji said is true? I think we are doing for our living, like eating and drinking.
Mm.
The body wants the food. That's why.
Yes.
Something else also I would like to mention it, like doing these karmas. When we were young, we never knew anything about the karmas because it was the childhood.
Mm.
But now we going through this all spiritual talking and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I sometimes, when I'm praying in the morning, I'm sometimes thinking, I wish I knew more from very young age.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And but
Mm.
then we always say that every morning the sun rise and you start
Mm,
your day from there.
mm,
That's
mm,
it.
mm.
And
Yeah,
that's what I think now.
that's good.
That I know I have done bad karmas in my life, but what else can you do? It's done. It's done.
It's
gone.
done is done, and not
Yeah.
worry too much about what's done. But
Yeah.
now we know. Now we know.
Now we know. Yeah.
But Aji is right, yes. Sometimes I think the same way. Like I wish I knew from young age,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yes.
nobody told us anything about it. At least we would have like protection
Yeah.
from the Lord all the time.
Yeah.
And Prabhu, some like our guru and some sages, they are
Yeah.
praying, they are protecting us, isn't it?
Yeah.
The gurus and the sages.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. Do they help us in a certain way? I
Definitely,
suppose.
definitely. Yeah, especially the Sapta Rishis, they actually are there for keeping the universe in some sort of order, and they're very powerful. And the Guru, extremely powerful. You know, he's there to help us. Correct. He's there to help us. Yeah, that's a fact.
Yes.
And Prabhuji, to be honest with you, I haven't got guru.
Hmm.
I just follow whatever is read in the book, and that's it. And in the book also they said that Guru ni agna padvani, Guru ne KM karvanu. But like marriage then came to, no, young age, marriage, then came the time the life was different. Never thought about having a guru in my life.
Hmm.
So is it still all right not to have a guru? Or
Some point, Guru is important to have. Yeah, it's very
because they said they show you all the good paths.
Oh, yeah. It's very important to have a living guru, and it's never too late. And if we want a guru, then we also have to somehow try to what's the word? Try to pray to the Lord. Please, please, please send me a self-realized soul who can help me go through, go to the spiritual world. And the Lord will answer that prayer. The Lord will
All
answer.
right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the discussion. It was good today. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.